If you have seen the claim that fighter jet crashes tripled in 2024 and that 127 pilots died, you are not alone. It is the kind of headline that punches you in the chest. It also looks like the kind of number that spreads faster than it can be verified. So, here is the deal. I am not going to sell you panic. I am going to sell you the best verified data we have right now, what it actually says, what it does not say, and why this still deserves serious attention. Because even when you strip away the viral math, the real story is still alarming. The most credible and specific data set we can point to is internal Pentagon data released to Congress and shared with Senator Elizabeth Warren's office. That data shows a 55% increase in the U.S. military's most severe aviation accidents, known as Class A mishaps, measured per 100,000 flight hours from FY 2020 to FY 2024. The rate rose from 1.30 to 2.02. That is not just fighter jets. That is across U.S. military manned aviation. And the time frame is fiscal or budget years, not a clean calendar year global count. Still, 55% is not a rounding error. That is a warning light. What a Class A mishap means. Let's define terms in plain English. A Class A mishap is the most serious category of U.S. military aviation accident. It includes incidents involving death, permanent total disability, destroyed aircraft, or major damage costs. This matters because when you hear accidents are up, you have to ask what category we are talking about. A scraped wingtip and a fatal crash do not belong in the same conversation. According to the Pentagon data summarized in Warren's letter, there were 4,820 aviation mishaps recorded from October 2019 through July 2024. Within that, there were 222 Class A mishaps from 2020 through 2024. The mishaps in that multi-year span killed 90 service members and DoD civilian employees, destroyed 89 aircraft, and cost about $9.4 billion. Now here is a number that puts weight on the year everyone is arguing about. In just the first 10 months of the 2024 budget year, through July 31st, 25 people were killed and 14 aircraft were destroyed in Class A incidents. Again, that is not 127 fighter pilots in 2024. That viral claim is not something I can verify in official reporting. The confirmed data is narrower, clearer, and honestly more useful if what you care about is reality. The Pentagon data also breaks down the Class A mishap rate by branch. The Marines show the sharpest increase across this period. Their rate went from 1.33 per 100,000 flight hours in FY 2020 to 3.91 in FY 2024. That is a 194% increase from 2020 to 2024. The Army, Air Force, and Navy also saw increases in the 2024 period compared with 2020. If you are a viewer who mainly came for fighter jets, here is the honest connection. Fighter units live inside the same training pressure, maintenance constraints, operational tempo, and safety culture as the rest of military aviation. When severe mishap rates move this much across the system, it is not reasonable to assume fighters are isolated from the risk. Now we hit the hard part. The data does not prove a single clean cause. The expert framing in reporting around this dataset is that the trend likely results from multiple factors stacking up over time. Here are the most defensible, evidence-aligned contributors to discuss. 1. Operational tempo. As demand for deployments and readiness rises, the margin for error shrinks. Increased pace can mean more hours, harder conditions, and less slack in training cycles. Aviation safety experts cited in recent reporting point to this as a major pressure point. 2. The COVID-era training hangover. Military aviation saw significant disruptions and reductions in flying time during the pandemic years. The theory is not that COVID caused crashes directly, but that reduced routine flying can erode proficiency and degrade the safety buffer, especially as operations ramp back up. 3. Platform complexity and maintenance strain. Some aircraft are inherently more complex and demanding to sustain. Reporting tied to this dataset notes concerns around higher-risk aircraft and the reality that aging fleets and maintenance backlogs can raise exposure. And 4. Transparency gaps. This is the part most casual coverage ignores, and it might be the one that decides whether the trend improves or gets worse. Senator Warren's push is not just about counting crashes. It is about access to root cause summaries and safety issues so Congress can see patterns earlier instead of after another fatal chain of events. A spike in Class A mishaps is not only a tragedy for the crews and families, it is a readiness problem. Every destroyed aircraft is a training pipeline disrupted. Every fatal accident is knowledge lost and trust shaken. And when safety confidence drops, recruitment, retention, and morale take hits that do not show up on a spreadsheet. It also carries a financial cost that affects the entire defense ecosystem. The data tied to this report puts the multi-year cost at about $9.4 billion. So even if you never care about budgets, you should care about what budgets reveal. Large costs often signal systemic friction, not isolated bad luck. Warren's office has pushed for reforms through the defense policy process that would increase transparency around mishaps and safety findings. The goal is to get clearer data into the hands of oversight bodies and, by extension, drive faster fixes in training, maintenance, and aircraft-specific risk management. The Pentagon's public response, quoted in related reporting, emphasizes that safety oversight councils review incidents and that leaders aim to adopt leading safety practices. Both can be true. A system can be trying to improve safety while still trending in the wrong direction. Aviation history is full of that tension. Here is the rule you should carry into every military aviation headline. When someone gives you a shocking number, ask 3 questions. What is the source? What is the definition? What is the scope? The reliable numbers we have right now are U.S. military numbers, focused on Class A mishaps, measured against flight hours, with a fiscal year framing. That is strong data for a sober argument about readiness and safety. It is weak data for a global calendar year claim about fighter jets alone. Here is the bottom line. What we can say, with credible documentation, is that the U.S. military's most severe aviation accident rate rose 55% from 2020 to 2024, and that 2024 saw a sharp jump in this highest risk category, with significant loss of life and aircraft in the tracked period. That should concern anyone who cares about pilots, aircraft, and the reality behind the PR. If you want more videos like this with a hard line on evidence and a zero-tolerance policy for fake numbers, subscribe to PilotScope TV. Next time, we will break down what Class A rates can and cannot tell us about specific aircraft types, and how smart safety culture changes look inside real squadrons.